Here they come up the middle. Rattler stands tall and it completes for a first down. Oh my goodness, the Jets are on for Xavier Legette. Turned a first down into a touchdown, 76 yards. Rattler, downfield, caught, still perfect, and Legette will win another foot race. 75-yard strike.
I'm Alex Johnson, this is Yards Per Fantasy, and today we're talking South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette. We're going to dive into his background and college career, discuss the positives and negatives in his prospect profile, try to determine his dynasty value, and if and where you should target him in your rookie drafts. Xavier Legette, he's a wide receiver out of South Carolina. He's a fifth-year senior. He's 23 years old, and he's listed at 6'1", 221 pounds. Xavier Legette was a multi-sport athlete at Mullins High School in South Carolina, where he played basketball, baseball, and football. And on the football side, he played wide receiver in his early years, catching 44 passes for 733 yards and 8 touchdowns as a sophomore, before taking over as the team's starting quarterback in his senior season. And that year, he showed his dual threat ability by throwing for 887 yards and 14 touchdowns, while rushing for 1,826 yards and another 19 touchdowns. He was recruited as a wide receiver with a 3-star grade in the class of 2019. He received 6 offers and he chose to commit to South Carolina. Legette didn't make much of an impact as a true freshman, catching just 9 passes and scoring 1 touchdown. In fact, he didn't have much of an impact in any of his first 4 seasons. Despite seeing action in 41 games with 17 starts over 4 years, Xavier Legette came out of his senior season with a 4-year total of 42 receptions, 423 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Again, that was 4 years combined of production. But luckily, because of the COVID rules from 2020, Xavier Legette had 1 more year of eligibility. And boy, did he take advantage. Xavier Legette became the team's #1 wide receiver in 2023. He led the Gamecocks with 71 receptions, 1,255 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And that was enough to earn second team All-SEC. But let's talk about the positives, the things that we like in Xavier Legette's profile. The first is his size. He's 6'1", but 221 pounds. He is built like an alpha X wide receiver. He's got great speed. He ran a 4.39 at the NFL Combine, and really just has overall really good athleticism. He's got excellent body control. He's fantastic in contested catch situations, and he's great after the catch as well. And no surprise, with that size and that speed, Xavier Legette is a dangerous vertical threat. He averaged 5.9 receptions per game in 2023. The elite threshold for me is 6. He's right there. He also had 30 career kick and punt returns, with 1 kickoff taken back for a touchdown. And if you watch any of my videos from the past, you know that I love these wide receivers who get involved either as rushers or in the return game. That's because it shows that the coaches have identified this player as one of the team's best playmakers. It's a great indicator of athleticism and playmaking ability, as well as overall skill. Xavier Legette averaged 3.05 yards per team pass attempt in 2023. This is elite. I like to use yards per team pass attempt because it does help filter out the differences between offensive styles from prospect to prospect. Because we have some of these teams who throw the ball 600 times a season, others who barely crack 400 pass attempts. So rather than comparing raw numbers, it's really nice to compare statistics like yards per team pass attempt because it filters out some of that noise. This is a nice check mark here from Xavier Legette. And he accounted for 33.3% of his team's receiving touchdowns in 2023, and he had a 35.5% dominator rating. Again, similar to yards per team pass attempt, I like to use dominator rating because dominator rating tells us how much of the passing offense a wide receiver accounted for between yards and touchdowns. 30% is the baseline of good that I look for. So 35.5% is a really good number for Xavier Legette. On the negative side, Xavier Legette ran a limited route tree at South Carolina. His release off the line of scrimmage needs some work, and he's overall unrefined as a route runner. This is a little bit extra concerning considering that he played 5 years in college and he's already 23 years old. He should be a little bit more refined than he is at this point in his career. We talked about earlier how Xavier Legette is very fast. He ran a 4.39 at the NFL Combine. That is blazing speed, but he doesn't quite have that next level acceleration that we'd love to see, it takes him a minute to get up to that speed. And as we've documented already, Xavier Legette is not an early declare. Not only is he not an early declare, he's a fifth-year senior. There is really strong correlation to guys who come out of college early in their NFL and fantasy football production. It's just a box that goes unchecked from Xavier Legette. And in that same vein, Xavier Legette had just 1 year of significant college production. Really, he had almost no production until his 5th year. This is a major red flag, massively concerning. Why did it take him so long to produce anything? And right along with that is his age 22 breakout as a 5th-year senior. Like I said, we really like to see guys break out by 20 years old, either 18, 19, or 20. Those are good numbers. Anything beyond that is really concerning. Xavier Legette is multiple years beyond that. Age-adjusted production is such an important part of my evaluation process when looking at these wide receivers. I mean, it's great that he had that one phenomenal year in 2023, but what took so long, bro? What took so long? This is really concerning, and I don't like it. But before we get into my NFL comp and my draft projection for Xavier Legette, I just want to make sure that you're aware that you don't have to wait until your rookie drafts to get your hands on some Xavier Legette shares. Underdog Fantasy makes it possible to draft these rookies right now. So go draft some Xavier Legette, or Marvin Harrison Jr., or Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Caleb Williams. These guys are fun to draft right now. Why wait? And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, make sure you use promo code YARDSPER, and they're going to double your deposit up to $100. I'm having a blast drafting 2024 teams, including these rookies. So come find me in a draft room. The archetype for Xavier Legette, he is a red zone threat. He's a really big physical wide receiver, excellent in contested catch situations, and the rest of his game is just not strong enough to put him in a different archetype bucket. And my NFL comp for him is Jonathan Mingo. Remember Jonathan Mingo last year? We had some similar concerns as we do with Xavier Legette, but he still commanded second-round draft capital. He's a big-bodied wide receiver who physically projects really well as an X receiver at the NFL level, but his production profile and his overall skill set just does not meet the thresholds that we look for. Xavier Legette reminds me of how I felt about Jonathan Mingo a year ago. Kind of a stay away. But let me know what you think of the Jonathan Mingo comp. If you have a better comp, do you like Xavier Legette more than I do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. In my NFL draft projection for Xavier Legette, I expect him, just like Jonathan Mingo, to come off the board in the 2nd round. He may fall the 3rd, but he's not getting out of day 2. Some NFL team, just like some Dynasty gamers and Dynasty analysts, are going to fall for Xavier Legette just like they did Jonathan Mingo a year ago. They're going to love the physical traits, the size, the athleticism, and the 2023 5th-year senior production. It's enticing, I know, I get it, but don't fall for it. It's a trap. The bottom line is, if we only looked at Xavier Legette's 2023 season statistics and his athletic traits, it would be hard not to rank him as one of the top wide receivers in the 2024 NFL draft class. But that is not the reality. It took Xavier Legette until his 5th year in college to put up any sort of meaningful production. At that point, he was 22 years old and leaning on pure, raw athletic traits. Let's give him some credit, though. His athleticism is off the charts. At 6'1", 223 pounds, he should not be able to run as fast as he does. In fact, Xavier Legette reached a top speed of 22.3 miles per hour in 2023. And to put it into perspective, only 3 NFL players reached 22 miles per hour in 2023. But he's not just a speed guy. Xavier Legette does not shy away from contact. He will happily run through you after the catch, an area that he thrives in. He will also use his size and strength to dominate in contested catch situations, both vertically and in the red zone. And when you look at just the final season, Xavier Legette looks great on paper. His 3.05 yards per team pass attempt is elite. He averaged 6 receptions per game, which is among the best in the class. He accounted for 1/3 of his team's receiving touchdowns, and he had a dominator rating over 35%. Where he struggles, though, is in the more technical areas of playing wide receiver. He is not great off the line of scrimmage, and his routes, the few that he does run, are far from refined. He will need to continue to develop the details of route running and expand his route tree if he is to become a more well-rounded wide receiver that commands volume at the NFL level. As it stands now, Xavier Legette projects as a situational vertical and red zone threat early in his career with the hopes that he can develop into more. He may be able to work his way into a big slot role. He took about a third of his snaps in 2023 from the slot as a complementary wide receiver. His physical traits scream outside X, but I'm not sure he's ever gonna get there, given how long it took him to develop at the college level and his struggles to create consistent separation. Still, some NFL team is going to get excited about this guy and draft him in the second round. And that draft capital plus the intriguing traits and final season production will make him a tempting pick in the second round of our Dynasty rookie drafts as well. As it stands now, though, there are several other players in his ADP range that I am far more confident in their ability to become fantasy relevant assets that I will be targeting instead.